What's up, guys? Welcome back to Talkin Hawkins, our Stranger Things in review. Welcome to Project Potter, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. If this is your first time, go check out the other content. We're back, guys, for the second episode of season 2. There's only 9 episodes, I think, in this whole season, so it's a pretty quick season. If you haven't seen the show before, guys, what we do is go through my quick thoughts on the episode, kind of my favorite scenes, give it a Hawkins Hero Award, which is my favorite character. We do a Mouth Breather, which is my least favorite character, and a score out of 10, guys. If you guys have been following along, you've seen the show. And if you're new to the show, welcome. If you do like the content, guys, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing. So getting into season 2, episode 2, guys. This one, not my favorite episode by any means, but there's some things I liked in here, guys. We get a big moment with Steve and Nancy where Steve and Nancy are going through and, it seems like all is good. And Steve is being a really, really cool dude, actually. But Nancy drops a truth bomb on him, and she gets a little drunk at the party, and Steve is trying to be like, yo, Nancy, I think you had too much. And I'm like, with Steve here, where I'm like, Steve, he's being a responsible boyfriend. They're at a party, they're having fun. The party's really fun. There's a whole bunch of kids at like typical classic high school party, right? Like everyone's dressed up. There's like a random couple making out in the back. There's one dude that's like, this is pure fuel. And he's like, woo! And he's just like getting hammered. And then that dude's like throwing up later. It's a lot of fun, but Nancy gets a little too drunk and Steve is like, yo, watch it. And he's like, just trying to make sure she doesn't get like food poisoning or not food poisoning, sorry, alcohol poisoning or blackout. Like Steve is being a good dude here. He's being cool. He's not being protective, or he's not being overly protective, I should say. And Nancy's like, no, I just want to be dumb, stupid teenagers. And she's worried about Barb the whole episode, and she thinks no one cares. Steve's trying to wrestle drink from her. It spills over her. And then it's like the gasp, and everyone looks at them. And I was like, it's a nice effect there. It's like classic high school stuff. And then they go in the bathroom. And then he's like, hey, it's okay. He's like, it's not coming out there. And she's like, this is bullshit. And he's like, what, the shirt? And she's like, no, this is all bullshit. Like Barb's dead and no one cares. And she talks about how, Bart's parents, who they had dinner with last episode, they're like selling the house and they're looking to like find Barb because they think she ran away, which is like the cover-up story. And she's like, we should tell them what really happened. And Steve's like, are you crazy? Which isn't crazy because you think that people know that Will went in the Upside Down, or I don't know what the cover story was, but obviously like Will was found and they had the fake funeral for him and everything. So like, I'm sure that something came out. So saying Barb was also in there and she just didn't make it isn't a stretch. I don't know why they don't go over that, but Steve's like, you don't love me? And she's like, it's all bullshit. And I will say to you guys, drunken words are sober thoughts. And so even though Nancy was hammered, and I'm sure we're going to go back into that, and she's like, look, I was just drunk, she's saying what she feels. Jonathan shows up to the party and he's like, whoa, and everything's going on. And there's a girl that goes over to him and he's like, kissed? And she's like, oh, the band. And she's like, yeah. I will say, guys, Jonathan got a glow up. His hair's kind of up. It's much better than the flat thing he had. Not his brother, though. Will Byers still just had the worst haircut in all of Hawkins, dude. So let's get Will the glow up he deserves, okay? But this is about Jonathan, guys, and he comes in. He sees Steve and Nancy that are like flirting and having a good time first. And then he's like, Steve like storms out. And Jonathan's like, this is my opportunity here. But he actually takes care of Nancy and brings her home. It's a really sweet moment. And then he carries her home. I don't understand why there's like no parents. Parents are never like around. Like he brings Nancy back home to the house. And just like, you would assume that he would like ring the doorbell or something and be like, hey, I just want to make sure Nancy got home safe or whatever. And then I go, we'll take it from here. Thank you so much. But he just like is able to bring her up to her bed and like tuck her in. And I'm like, really sweet moment. But I'm like, where are Nancy's parents? Or are they just coming home really late? Or is it, I think they would be like, Jonathan, what are you doing here? It's a whole thing, but it's a really, really sweet sentiment. And she's, of course, is like sobers up for 1 second. She's like, Jonathan? And he's just like, shh. There's other moments here. Obviously the trick-or-treating, the Ghostbusters stuff. Lucas and Dustin like afraid to ask out Max, I should say. Is a nice moment, but then we have continued issues with Will. Bob still sucks. He's still the worst, but he's a vampire. And Joyce, there's a nice one where Joyce is like, I feel like when I'm not with Will, I can't function. They say Jonathan's going to take Will out trick-or-treating, but Jonathan wants to go to the party and he feels bad because Will is just like, man, it sucks that I can't even trick-or-treat on my own. And Jonathan is like, you know what, man, go with your friends. And he's like, yeah. He's like, just be home by 9. He's like 9:30. And he's like, hey, 9 o'clock. he's like, you want to go back in the upside down, bro? So he goes trick-or-treating with them, and it's nice until Will obviously has an episode where he sees once again the creature, which we do not know the name of yet, which I know the name of, but I'm not going to spoil it. And so there's like all these crazy scenes where people, Halloween is the perfect like disguise because people are like, oh, what's up, zombie boy? And you're like, okay, well, that's weird. And everyone knows, I think, what happened to Will. But it's just like he's being chased by this creature, and he goes there, and Max is like, what's wrong with him? The one thing I don't like about this episode, guys, or one of the things, is that Mad Max is like kind of like cold from them, and Dustin and Lucas are like, oh, so you look at like this thing opens, and he's like, isn't that pretty cool? And she's like, that's pretty presumptuous that you want me to hang out, or you think I'd want to trick or treat with you guys. And she kind of walks away. But then like when she sees them again, she's like best friend. She's like, oh, hey, let's go get the candy down here. I'm like, I would have liked Max to be a little colder towards them. We do get a great scene where Billy is like in the car, and he's like, this place is a shithole. He's like, you smell that? It's pure shit. And she's like, it's not that bad. And she's like, there's no cows or whatever. And he's like, you haven't met the high school girls. I was like, oh, damn, Billy, sweet burn, dude. But Billy is like, obviously like kind of a psycho where he's like, you're late. And he's like, if you're late again, you're skating home. And he's like a tough older brother, but he's really kind of a dick to Max. And the kids are on the bikes, and he speeds up, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, should I hit him? He's like, do I get bonus points if I hit all three of them? It's a really, really great scene actually, but it just shows you like how unhinged Billy is. But it's an interesting scene to say the least. The kids like go out of the way, but then she's just cool with them, so she's kind of bonding with them through her dislike of Billy. But I don't know, guys, we get a lot more of that stuff. We get a quick scene with Hopper and 11 in the beginning where she's like, ghost. She's like, bad guys won't see me. And he's like, look, we don't go outside. We don't take risks. He's like, that's stupid. And he's like, we're not stupid, right? And she's like, no. But 11 does like get bored, and she goes out. There's like a hunter there, uses her mind to send a flaming log at this dude's face. And then she like takes his hat and shit. And I was like, Hopper goes, investigates. There's a big pumpkin problem apparently in Hawkins, and everything's poisoned. And this is the continuation where Hopper is like, wait, what do you mean everyone's crops are dead? And he goes there and he finds the goo, and he's clearly like, oh shit, this is the upside down. But he's like, hey, track the rot as far as it goes. And he's like, mark it if you can. He's putting down these little marks. He's like, it could be poison, so don't touch it. And the without gloves, he says, and the cop is like, the funny cop from the first one where he's like, oh, I'll make that jump, $10 bet. He's like touching it. And yeah, no problem, boss. And so that's all good stuff, guys. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Okay, guys, my Hawkins hero for this one, it's got to be Billy, dude. Billy Hargrove, played by Dacre Montgomery. He's just great, dude. He's got a very unique look to him. There's a mustache and a shirt open. He's super confident. He goes to the party and he's the new keg king. And he's like, that's how you do it, Hawkins. He's just a super interesting character. And he's maybe not the most likable character, but guys, he's a thirst trap. And like, what can I say? He's just a really, really dynamic character that's introduced here. And I think he just crushes the role. We'll see kind of how his character evolves over the season. But I think he's a welcome addition to a very strong cast already. Okay, guys, for my mouth breather, which is my least favorite character, guys, if I could pick Bob again, I would. And I guess I could because it's my show, but I'm not going to do that. It's Mike in this one. Mike sucks in this one. He is like a wet blanket, and he gets all butthurt that Max joined them, and Dustin and Lucas are clearly crushing on Max, but they're having a good time. And Mike is kind of hanging back with Will, but he's like, she's ruining the best night of the year. And I'm like, Mike, you're being dramatic, dude, because he's upset. He misses Elle. We get a great scene where Elle apparently doesn't need a sensory deprivation tank anymore. She can just turn the TV to like a static and put a blindfold on, and she's in there. So her powers are getting better, which is interesting. But she literally goes up to Mike, and like she's about to touch him, and then he like gets frustrated and closes it and walks away. But Mike just kind of is like selfish in this one, and he doesn't think that Max can replace Elle. And they're two different characters, but it's like, instead of having a good time, Mike seemed to like the grounded, positive character in the first season. And this feels like it's a little out of character for season 2, where it's like, yeah, he's getting older, and he's obviously like into Elle, and he's obviously been like out of it and not as into the group as he was before. But it's like, dude, you're trick-or-treating, you're here to have a good time. And like, I understand him being a little skeptical, but him to say like she's ruining the night, it's like, dude, you gotta relax a little bit. But obviously he's jealous that she's taking time away and attention away from Dustin and Lucas. And then he's got like weird ass Will over here where he's just going to go into an episode anytime. So Mike is my mouth breather for this one. Hey guys, that brings us to the score here. This is a 7-8 for me. This is an okay episode. I don't think too much happened here. I mean, I love the Billy stuff. I really, really like the Nancy and Steve stuff. It's like honestly heartbreaking for Steve because I think Steve was being a great dude. And he's like, you don't love me? And it's like, wow. And he's like heartbroken and then mad. And then it's like, we open this up for Jonathan. This show is like, it just keeps messing with you. It's like, you want Steve and Nancy? Cool. You want Nancy and Jonathan? Okay. Now you're going to go back to Steve and Nancy. But now it's like things were going well. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Nancy's like, I don't love you. And I like it because it's real and it's realistic and it's shocking, really. But it's a big moment. Seeing the crew go around trick-or-treating, seeing all the Halloween costumes. I didn't mention that Max shows up in a Mike Myers outfit. And I was like, kudos to Mad Max there, dude. Love Mike Myers. But it's a fun, Halloween is always a fun time, but we just got more of Will's episodes and it's like, okay, but we're seeing like the creature now and it's like how it like unfolds itself. I was like, oh shit, that looks really cool. But it's just kind of like a filler episode in a sense where it just kind of moves the plot along there. And it's like these are the early episodes where we're looking to just like get into something. Oh guys, I almost forgot. Dustin finds something in the trash at the end. We don't know what that is yet. We'll find out next episode. I know what that is, but that's going to be exciting for future episodes going forward. Hey guys, and that's another episode of Talkin Hawkins. 2 episodes into season 2 now. So thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Like I mentioned before, like, comment, subscribe if you did like the content. Appreciate you guys stopping by. And until next time, guys, who are you going to call?